this is my review of Slime Diaries. Okay, so this episode is a beach episode. That's long and short of what the episode is. Yeah, similar to Tragedy of M, if you guys remember, that was an OVA from that time it got reincarnated as a slime. It was an OVA from the main anime, and this episode kind of takes a page out of that. It more or less is just Rimuru and his friends going to the beach to screw around. That's what the episode is, and that's what it's about. So yeah, it starts off with Rimuru explaining via narration that they're actually going to take a visit to a local lake that they found, pointing out that if the summers are going to get harder, then they need a permanent summer retreat. He decides to bring all of his friends to come along, and basically forms a coalition where they go to stake out the new location, which is really just an excuse for him and his friends to have fun. But I mean, why wouldn't? That's basically just what the episode is. They go to the beach to have fun and maybe set up a permanent summer location on the beach's edge. So yeah, after arriving, Rimuru has Gapta and Hakaru set up the tents, and then they proceed. Obviously, one for guys, one for girls, and they then proceed to all get changed into their swimsuits. So Rimuru is actually wearing a bit of an old-timey bathing suit. You know the onesie that's like red and white stripes, except in this case it's white and blue stripes. But meanwhile all the girls change into their swimsuits as well. Shion and Shuna are wearing the same swimsuits they were wearing in Tragedy of M, and according to the episode that apparently doesn't exist, or this has been two separate occasions where they've worn different swimsuits. But actually, knowing that they got destroyed in Tragedy of M, maybe it is different swimsuits that were redesigned, but I don't know. But in case they're both sporting the same swimsuits that they had in Tragedy of M, whereas Silka is also wearing a one-piece swimsuit. Not like Rimuru's, where it's like an old-timey bathing suit, but rather a bathing suit, not a bikini like the other girls are wearing, just a onesie swim. This episode's gonna get me to. Okay. I'm trying to best describe. I just realized what I'm doing. I'm talking about girls wearing swimsuits, and I'm a guy. I just realized this might not have been the best idea, but okay. In any case, they all get dressed in their swimsuits and proceed to hit the water. But after seeing Rimuru's swimsuit, they show some visible confusion because his swimsuit just kind of does not work like at all. They're kind of a little bit confused as to why he's wearing such a strange swimsuit. And also during this entire sequence, Gapta just kind of admires all of the girls in their swimsuits, and it is just one of the funniest instances of his character that we've seen up to this point. But as Rimuru is arguing with the girls about why they don't like his swimsuit, it actually cuts to Ifrit and Veldora, who are arguing the practicality of swimsuits. They don't understand what a swimsuit is or why it works. They just kind of explain how clothing in general is supposed to signify higher races. And also point out the impracticality of a swimsuit because it barely covers anything and barely keeps them protected. Though as Veldora points out, Rimuru has the right idea by wearing a big bulky swimsuit that covers most of his frame. So yeah, they just have a little bit of a conversation as they're working on erasing the impenetrable barrier that's keeping Veldora trapped. Veldora is just kind of remarking about how much free time Rimuru has while they're working to analyze the barrier, and also they remark about how the swimsuits don't really make sense from a practical standpoint, which is the whole point because swimsuits aren't designed to be practical; they're designed for fun. That's it. And they don't and Veldora and Ifrit don't quite understand that. Hence why they're having a bit of an argument inside Rimuru's head. But in case but in case as Rimuru and Gapta are talking about how they're planning to hit the waves and how they plan to and how they start doing the warm-up exercises before they go swimming. Shion and Shuna actually show up, pointing out that Garmin Dirt actually designed a swimsuit for Rimuru that he didn't wear, and it's apparently a very thin string bikini that is apparently a lot skimpier than the other girls' swimsuits. And when Rimuru points that out, Shion merely remarks that they worked hard to design a special swimsuit for everybody, and that they're designed to be practical and to bring out all of the girls' best features, which is just to say they designed them with all of the girls' lewdness in mind. So maybe they weren't in the best place, but in case they point out that that Rimuru should wear his swimsuit that they made because it's only fair and that would make them happy. Only for Gobta to completely derail the situation he completely derails the conversation by pointing out that Shion should probably wear it since it would fit her a lot better, quote unquote. And points out that he's actually that he actually just wants. The subtext is that he just wants to see Shion in a much skimpier swimsuit, and when Rimuru points that out, Gobta merely remarks that people without boobs should not be in part of the conversation, which only results in him getting kicked by Rimuru and Shion at the same time and flying into the lake. And then they fist bump each other because they realized that Gobta was being lewd and he kind of deserved it. Meanwhile, Shuna is kind of a little bit skeptical about why Asuka is hiding off on her own. And when she asks her about it, Asuka merely remarks that she hasn't been in her dragon form for very long, and that she's a little bit self-conscious about her more humanoid body now. So she isn't entirely sure if the swimsuit looks good on her, and she's kind of a little bit embarrassed, which is kind of cute. But Shuna merely remarks that she actually looks great in it, and that she shouldn't be so self-conscious about it because she looks beautiful. At which point Gobta shows up yet again to once again try and loot somebody. And he remarks that that does work, but he wonders where her tail went. At which point she gets kicked into the lake again. And after being kicked into the lake twice, he's still very much in a good enough mood to go swimming. And when the girls decide to start having a splashing contest in the water, he decides to join them. Unfortunately, because they're all A-rank monsters and above, their splashes are a lot more destructive than the girls actually mean to. They're just horsing around and playing, but they're just casually causing tsunamis by splashing around in the water. So obviously Gobta gets full blast of that, and he gets knocked to the shore. At which point, and while he kind of takes a break from all the festivities and tries to air out his lungs, Rimuru asks Hakaru what he's going to be doing for the day, since he doesn't seem like he prepared or brought a swimsuit. And Hakaru merely remarks that he's going to go fishing, since he realizes that he can't join them in the water the traditional way, so he's going to join them in a completely different way. Pointing out that there are different ways to actually enjoy the ocean. And when Rimuru is quick to point out that he sounds like an old man when he kind of just talks wistfully and like he's kind of younger, a giant fish just kind of erupts out of the lake, and Hakaru points out that sometimes it's better to act younger than themselves, and that Rimuru should be prepared for dinner tonight, implying that he is going to catch it by the end of the episode, and he does. So yeah. But in any case, as everybody else is just kind of having fun in the sun, eventually Gobta suggests the idea that they have a watermelon smashing contest, and Rimuru decides that that's actually a good idea, so they decide to set up a watermelon in the sand, and they decide that Shion should go first. And you should already know that that's a bad idea, because Shion, she gets spun around, she's completely disoriented and confused like you would normally do for a watermelon smashing contest. However, Shion decides to do something a little bit dangerous. So she can't see. So here's the thing: she's blindfolded. She's disoriented because she's been spinning around a whole bunch. She doesn't really know where the watermelon is, but she decides that the best way to do that is to imagine that the watermelon is Rimuru, and decides to echolocate based on that. and then she hits the watermelon, which causes it to be completely imploded and destroyed across everything. And when she takes out the blindfold, she believes that she missed the watermelon, only for it to have been sprayed on everybody in the vicinity. With Rimuru merely remarking that not only was that dangerous and that the watermelon exploding could have hurt somebody, but B, he's quick to point out that she was homing in on him, and she even said so out loud. So he's a little concerned about his well-being, to put it lightly. But in any case, as everybody continues to play in the sand, Rimuru merely remarks about how deep to Shuna about how far the ocean actually goes, and points out that he would love to explore it someday. And Shuna remarks that it is definitely beautiful, but points out that he would likely melt in it. And Rimuru concurs with that, pointing out that he's happy he'll be able to one day explore it, but then backpedals to the fact that Shuna just told him that he would melt if he came in contact with salt, and then points out that she merely deflects the situation by pointing out that if he doesn't have salt on his watermelon, then he can't properly enjoy it, but that he shouldn't go overboard, which concerns Rimuru yet again. But in any case, as everybody is playing around the sun, Gobta actually goes to get Hakuryu, pointing out that he's alone by himself, and that he feels like waiting for the fish to come is actually a little bit boring. So he points out that he should actually have some fun with a couple of the other people that came to the beach. At which point Hakuryu merely remarks that he's just admiring the view, which Gobta immediately misinterprets as him eyeing the girls. And then points out that he's kind of lecherous, which Hakuryu then glares at him and scares him off. And also halfway through this episode, roughly, Trainee decides to tell her sisters that she's off to go on a very important mission, pointing out that a couple of A-rank monsters have moved to a new location, and that if they're not stopped, they will cause irreparable destruction. And then proceeds to teleport away. And as it turns out, she then arrives at the beach where everybody else is hanging out, and is quick to as it turns out, they're the A-rank monsters that she went to check on. Although Rimuru points out pretty quickly that she showed up in her bathing suit, and that's well, long story short, she's just there to have fun and not be excluded again, which is fair. But it's at that point where Hakuryu actually successfully catches the fish. And then he proceeds to bring it back to the campsite so that they can cook it. And Shion offers to cook, but since everybody knows that Shion is not to be trusted with cooking, they all decide to ask her to actually help out and participate with other things while the people who can actually cook work on the food. And she even remarks that the food is that she didn't get to do anything, although she remarks that she was popular, so she doesn't really care. Meanwhile, as all of this is happening, Gabiru is actually sobbing to himself inside of Trainee's bar, pointing out that he feels like Suka has gone off on her own without him, and that he wanted to come with, but he wasn't allowed to, and was just left alone in town. And as his followers try to cheer him up, Gabiru merely remarks all the different memories that he's had when he was growing up with Suka. Which his followers quickly point out aren't exactly true to reality. Suka definitely strikes me as a bit independent and not really a brotherly type of person. She doesn't really like her brother. We've established that he's a bit of a pompous bastard, and that's kind of part of his charm. But she doesn't really like her brother all that much, and it's clear that he's just making stuff up to feel better. And when they point that out, he merely remarks that they don't know what it's like to have an independent little sister. At which point Benimaru just kind of walks into the bar and passes Gabiru a drink, and just silently nods at him, pointing out that he does know exactly how it feels because Shuna is his little sister. She's become fiercely independent ever since they joined the Juro Tempest Federation, and well, long story short, he knows exactly how Gabiru feels. But in any case, after eating dinner, everybody who's at the beach decides to tuck in for the night. And as they're sitting in for the night, the girls actually do do point out that they notice that Suka actually does like Sui, and then proceed to kind of tease her about it, which she's a little bit self-conscious about. But she does point, but as Shion points out, he doesn't have the best personality, and that she could easily do better. But Shuna merely remarks the opposite, pointing out that even at his toughest, he is a kind, caring soul when he wants to be, and that Suka would be very much lucky to have him. And Suka is more kind of head over heels over the moon for that, because she's quick to point out that Shion and Shuna have lived with him basically his whole life. They're very close friends with him, so obviously they would know him the best. And obviously they have a very intimate relationship with him, whereas she would never have a very good relationship with him at all, or at least not as close. Although Shuna then completely derails that entire conversation by pointing out that, long story short, he also has a habit of making girls cry, which Suka kind of takes to heart as well. But then it cuts back to a town where we actually see Sui actually taking his time off, and he's actually throwing his little kunais into his little dartboard that he has. At which point Benimaru pays him a visit and points out that he notices how hard he's working, and offers him a drink. At which point Sui remarks that he's glad that he's actually working hard to keep everybody safe. And while he knows that he can't be there in person, he actually sent Suka there to actually keep an eye on Rimuru in case things go south, which more or less is why he does that, because as he points out, he actually trusts her a great deal and does care for her as a person. He does generally admire her skills as a person and her abilities, and that he actually has a great deal of trust in her. At which point Benimaru merely remarks that he's always hard on the people he likes, and Sui kind of confirms that, pointing out that he does a lot of things for people he loves, and will go head over the moon for them, which is cute. It's implied by the scene that Sui actually does share Suka's feelings for him, but he's a little bit more aloof and not as open with his feelings as Suka might be. So obviously Suka is oblivious to how he actually feels, but he does care for her at least as a person. It's kind of up in the air, so whether or not he actually likes her, but it's implied from this scene that he at the very least loves her as a person, and does admire her skills. So yeah, it's kind of cute. Rejoice, little shippers. It's great. It's been implied that they do kind of like each other, but this episode does kind of more heavily imply it, which is kind of cute. But in any case, after that, all the girls are asleep in their tent, with Suka crying herself to sleep because of what she and the other girls discussed earlier. And as everybody else is sleeping, the guys and Trainee are actually hanging out around the fire that they started. And Trainee just kind of offers everybody a drink, with Haku pointing out that that the benefits of being a man his age is that he can have a beautiful dryad pour him a drink. At which point Rimuru points out that if he's actually does like taking a drink, that he should stop by Trainee's bar every once in a while, because they have quite a few laughs there. And Haku decides to take him up on that, mainly because they can have a bit of a laughing contest, and Rimuru is quick to point out that even Haku won't be able to beat him in that. At which point Trainee remarks that her bar is full of laughter, but she also points out this is kind of heavily alluding to the events of the main series, but she alludes to the fact that a lot of powerful nations are eyeing Tempest, and points out that even though they'll be able to laugh today, they probably won't be able to laugh tomorrow. At which point Rimuru just kind of finishes his drink and is quick to point out that even if they won't be able to always be able to laugh that day, that they'll be able to laugh twice as hard the day after, which gives Trainee some amusement, because she's quick to point out she admires Rimuru's enthusiasm. But in any case, after that they go to bed, and then wake up the next morning to watch the sunrise. And everybody remarks that the sunrise is beautiful, and that that they wish they could spend the whole day there, but they do have to go back to Tempest eventually. So they decide that they're going to be they'll make breakfast and then pack up and go back home. So yeah, and also Shion and Shuna once again emphasize that Rimuru should try out the bathing suit that Garmin Dord made for him, and point out that maybe he would give them one last sample before they leave and head out. And he remarks that there's no chance in hell, and that it would only happen in their dreams. Which, ironically, is exactly what happens, because during the preview for the next episode, they fantasize about their Rimuru wearing their bathing suit that they made, and he then delivers the preview inside of a fantasy. So, yeah, quite literally in their dreams. It's very funny and a very literal thing, and I love it. But in any case, yeah, this episode was overall just a beach episode, which is kind of an essential for any anime, but specifically slice of life anime, which is what this anime spin-off is. So, yeah, that's gonna do it for my review of that Slime Diaries. What'd you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to check out all of my social links in the description below. My website's over there. Again, my Discord is down there, and also you should follow me on Twitter to see updates on when I upload things, because I kind of promote all of my videos over there so that you guys don't miss out. And also, if you do want to help further support me, then be sure to check out my Patreon. It's only a couple bucks a month. It helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks, and I always say thanks. Not least of which is that if you do pledge money to me on my Patreon, then I will list you on my website, and then everybody can see how much you actually pledged over there, and also maybe get some promotional deals in the process. So be sure to check that out. And also, if you want to see more videos from me, then be sure to check out the videos linked in the end screen. The top video is the most recent video. It may or may not be this. Whereas the bottom video is the video recommended to you based on what you've already seen from me and what YouTube thinks you will like. So, if you want to see more of what you like, or try something completely different, then be sure to check both of those videos out. But, regardless of whether or not you do any or all of those things, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!